Tonight, David Santia Petu's tenure as IGP ends a month before its time as he's asked to proceed on leave.
I know there was a crisis meeting. There's been crisis meeting for a period now, including this morning.
Well, his deputy, Opon Buenua, has been asked to act as IGP. We have the inside story for you and reactions. And Top Story is always brought to you by Bond Savings and Loans. Your success, our passion. Gasem Cement, the Nation Builder. Also brought to you by Gasem, the Nation Builder as well. And Nationwide Health Insurance, your healthcare family. Now, David Asantia Pietu was until today the IGP. He was bailed to leave office just next month in August. But he has now been asked to proceed on leave with immediate effect and handover to his deputy, who will act in his stead for now. A statement that was issued in last few hours and signed by the Director of Communications make this absolutely clear. There's a lot to get into this for you. My colleague and head of the security desk here at Joy FM, Gifty Andopia, is here with the details of this. What does his statement say?
So let me read verbatim, Evans. It says the subject is President Akufo-Addo appoint Mr. James Opon-Buenu as Acting Inspector General of Police. And it goes, the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, on Monday, 22nd July 2019, directed the Inspector General of Police, Mr. David Asantia Pietu, to proceed on leave with immediate effect pending his retirement from the Ghana Police Service on Wednesday, 14th of August 2019. The President thanked him for his many years of service to the country and wished him well in his retirement. Final paragraph, Evans says, President Akufo-Addo has asked the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Mr. James Opon-Buenu, to act as IGP until a substantive IGP is appointed in accordance with the Constitution. And as you said, it's signed by Eugene Ahin, Director of Communications.
Yeah, and this raises a number of curious questions, seeing that he was given an extension which was supposed to expire next month. He just has a few weeks to go, and he's been asked to proceed on leave. This is happening against the backdrop of the legal suit today, which was supposed to slap on him, as the lawyers of Afoko had demanded, a prison sentence for contempt of court. He himself and the director of CID as well, and we'll bring you what happened in court today, because this seemed to have coincided with that court action, which would have been historic in itself if the court had indeed made that finding. The IGP was not in court, but some may suggest that as of that time, the decision had already been taken, and he wasn't the IGP in the first place. And so there's a lot going on as far as this is concerned that we'll get to some reactions on. But Gifty, what else do we know? I mean, in the lead up to this, there's a lot of speculation that had preceded this about who might take over and who might not. We have an acting. There's no substantive. But the circumstances surrounding the IGP's removal, so to speak, is curious.
Well, it's curious, but not so curious, because, Evans, like you said, we've had this conversation before. Everybody was looking forward to August, which was the month that he was supposed to retire. And so the conversation about who takes up the job after he retires has always been on. And so some time back, I think about 2 months ago, we did this list that put together everybody that was in line, so to speak, because they were all commissioners of police. And so, Evans, if I could go through that list again. There were at least about 10 or 11 of them. And let me start with COP Maxwell Saki Pasco Atingani, who is commandant or was commandant to the Staff and Command College Winneba, who was also set to retire this year. In line of those who could take over, he was, on the list. COP Prosper Ablo, who is the Director General Legal and Prosecution, was also on the list as well. And then COP Beatrice Zakbaz Vib Sanziri, who was also on the list. She is the Director General of the Police Intelligence and Professional Standards Bureau. She was also she's one of the first females to reach this level in the police service. This COP Dr. George Akufu-Dampare, a lot of people had been speaking for him as well to be there. He holds a PhD in finance and is the Director General in charge of the welfare. like you said, it's still an acting position. So
any of them could
any
still
of
get
them,
a
any of them. I still have a couple
Could
more
still get
if
a
I have
substantive,
time,
yes.
Evans. I could go through them. COP Christian Tete Yono as well, who is the Director General of Motor Transport Traffic Department as well, was on the list. And as we know, he was Accra Regional Commander from 2013 until December 5, 2015, when he was appointed Director General of Police Operations. And then there is COP Kofi Boache, who is Director General in charge of research and planning, and he's quite popular as well. He's also former Ashanti Regional
These are all names that had come up. In fact, the man who put that list together,
yes,
Adam Bona, is the Chief Executive of the Security Warehouse Limited, joins us on the telephone line. Mr. Bona, thank you for your time here on Top Story.
Thank you very much, Ivan.
Also joining me right now is Colonel Festus Obwaji, former Colonel of the Security Service of the Ghana Armed Forces, and also a man adept at these matters as far as security is concerned. Colonel, thank you for your time also on Top Story.
Yeah, thanks, Ivan.
Mr. Bona, let me start with you. You put that list together we've just been sharing, and in fact, in that conversation we had just a couple of months back, you had given rankings to people. Let me first start by asking you, surprised at the way this announcement had come and the timing of it, seeing that it's coming just a few weeks shy of August, when Asante Petu was due to retire in peace?
No, I mean, I would say no, because probably I work very close with most of the agencies, including the Ghana Police Services. So I was suspecting this. I know there were movements here and there as of last week, meetings here and there, into this morning, crunch meetings here and there, to have a replacement for David Asante Petu. And so I am not surprised. The only surprise I must say has to do with the person being made and acting to be put in an acting position. Probably that is where I am not too comfortable.
I mean, you're not comfortable with the fact that there's an acting position?
Yes, it's an
okay, but I'll come to that. I know that is a perennial issue anytime we have an acting IGP. But do you know why? Would you know why the president would take the decision now with only weeks to go? He extended his stay. He extended his stay. He gave him the 1 year, which expires next month. And so, what do we know about why he was stepping down when he just can go next month?
Is that question to me?
Yes.
Well, I believe that. Can you ask your question again?
I'm just asking. Do you know anything about? Because I know you have sources. Do you know anything why the decision was taken at this time to let the Asante Petu go with just weeks to go for him to retire?
Evans, I wouldn't want to share some of the information. I mean, but I believe it's for good reasons that decision was taken, that Asante Petu should step aside for the deputy IGP to, take over. I was expecting that we would have a substantive IGP. And so, but I wouldn't want to put that information out there, because I know he still had, there is some time left on his contract to go. And so, but there's a good reason why he was asked to go, and I wouldn't want to share that even.
Okay, let's hold the line for me briefly. Colonel Festus Obwaji, you are a watcher of this space, the security space. Doesn't it sound curious to you that this should be taken at this moment with just weeks for Mr. Petu to go?
Well, I think beyond curiosity, it's quite intriguing. As you suggested, he's only got about 21 days to have been honorably, released. So it leads all of us guessing as to what at all might have been his whatever omission that could have led to such a drastic decision. Well, I don't know the precise reasons why, but I think given the circumstances of our times, we can probably make some informed guesses. One of which will be the case in court about this, is it Gregory Afoko? It could be also about or have something to do with this executive secretary, the circumstances under which he said he was resigning or retiring to go and participate in politics. And the argument that given the regulations of the political party, he might then have been a card-bearing member all along. But whatever the circumstances are, they could be quite compelling. And I think, as our colleague Adam Bonner has suggested, let's wait until we hear from the horse's own mouth, that is the office of the president, what at all Mr. David Asante Appiah might have done or not done to have, forced his hand to be sending him home.
You think that government will offer an explanation why in the matter like this?
Oh, we'll get to know. You know that in this country, there are some of your fraternity, i.e. media houses, who have inside information. Indeed, there are certain individuals, and I think Adam Bonner has suggested that he knows something, but he cannot hazard any guess at this stage. So whether it comes from the office of the president or from whatever source, we will eventually get to know, except that I don't expect the little that I know about Mr. David Asante Appiah, I don't expect that he is going to stand on any platform and actually tell us why he thinks he is being sent home. And I'm assuming that at his level, he will be called and he will be told why he is going home. So we'll get to know.
Yeah, Mr. Bonner, let me bring you back in. You say your concern is with the acting nature of the position of the individual who is taking over from him, who happens to be Asante Appiah's deputy until today. Why is that an issue for you?
It's an issue for me because if you look at our current security predicament, we have a lot of security challenges. And so if you put such a person in an acting position, and if you know how, especially the politicians would like to play, games with our security, and this person definitely would want to be confirmed as the substantive IGP. Therefore, you don't want to put him in a situation where he has to be looking over his shoulders to see whether his appointing superiors are happy with him or they are not happy with him. And apart from that, you are going to have, other officers who think they are also due lobbying, because the lobbying hasn't stopped. And if you read the content of the press release or the letter, it says he's going to act till a substantive IGP is appointed, and it takes immediate effect. And so it means that, there is not everything I can put out there, but my challenge is that the president could have just gone ahead to say, you are the IGP, case closed for 1 year or 3 months or 6 months. Because a very good question that on another platform was asked was that an IGP would usually come and would have to play the position chairs where you move people around. And so are we expecting him to move people around and the next day he's asked to step aside because they are not happy with him, somebody must take over? And so, the police is the foremost internal security agency when it comes to our, inland security. And so you don't need, this time around, you have, terrorism all over the sub-region. You have kidnappings that we are dealing with. You have mentioned them, accidents, everything. And so putting him in an acting position, Evans, for me, I think that the president could have done us a lot of good by appointing him to be the substantive IGP or get somebody else if they are not happy with him. In any case, he's been the deputy IGP for close to 1 year. And so why put him in this situation where he probably is bound to fail, if you ask me? He's bound to fail because then today the vigilantism bill has been passed and you expect the police to make sure that bill, if eventually everything about it is sorted, it is used to the letter. How is it going to be used if we have an acting IGP? These are some of the things.
Is this? Well, you say you won't tell us why the reason is, but is this punishment for something he's done? Because the statement you said is also very clear when he was supposed to retire, Wednesday, 14th August, 2019, and yet they say we can't wait for you to even reach that date. Go. Is that punishment?
Well, the president have that sole prerogative to appoint and disappoint IGPs per the law. And so, obviously, if the president is not happy or the Security Council is not happy with something or the Police Council is not happy with something, he will be asked to step aside with immediate effect. That is, what I can say. I wouldn't want to go into the nitty-gritties of it.
Yeah.
But just like my colleague, Colonel retired, just said, there are a lot to this whole thing, but the truth is that I would want to concentrate on the person who has been put in charge. Now, remember, David was supposed to appear in court today. David was supposed to appear. IGP was supposed to, as of this morning, he was still the IGP. He was supposed to appear in court today. Now we have an acting IGP. Technically, it means that the acting IGP is going to be appearing in court on behalf of David, because then it is a position that has to be there, not him as a person. And so where does that leave us?
Well, that's a big question that we'll attempt to ask and wrap our heads around until we get some formal governmental explanation. But First of all, that same question, if you're reading this and if you look at the crafting of the statement itself, it doesn't only say proceed on leave. It even tells us when he was supposed to proceed on Wednesday 14th. Some will read into that and say the man is being punished for something. Is that a fair conclusion to come to, although we don't know what that reasoning is?
Well, we could all speculate. We could all make guesses, informed guesses, that is. But you look at the circumstances, as Adam Bona has suggested, circumstances prevailing at this time, and you obviously can make the valid assumption that he might have omitted to do certain things or have done certain things that have attracted the displeasure of the president. Otherwise, I don't see why he could not have waited until the 14th of August when he would have been asked to proceed home. But given that we don't know the exact reasons why he is going home, we need to give the benefit of the doubt to the president, who has a prerogative, as Adam Bona has suggested, to appoint and also to remove. But I think the question of whether you appoint a new reliever immediately or not, it's a political one. The presidency needs time to put all the issues together and to come to a very constructive decision as to who to appoint, so that we don't end up, if you like, making the same mistake that we might have made. And when I say we, I'm talking collectively as Ghanaians. If we made a mistake in putting Mr. David Asante Appiah-2 on the seat, so that we don't replicate the same mistake. But of course, I'm not saying that he's made a mistake. I'm suggesting that there might be very compelling reasons why he's going home, and the two that are current, that we know of, has to do with the Gregory Afoko issue, has to do with the executive secretary who has retired, or may have to do with certain other, national security exigencies that we may not be aware of now. Having said that, I don't see anything wrong with, Mr. James Okonjo being asked to act. He's been there for 1 year. He's very much in tune. He's a very seasoned, respectable, experienced police officer. And he can hold the fort, let's say, for the next 3 weeks, until the president is able to come to a decision as to who relieves him. Because the names that you have mentioned, that people are peddling around, my language, it's not as simple as that. Experience and seniority and the politics about who sits on that seat, especially the politics, all have to be, factored into the appointment of the new IG. And I would wish, if I may take this opportunity to say that look, yes, politics, but let's be sure that we put the right person on the seat and not use any kinds of extraneous, reasons or factors to come to a decision that, forces us to put on the seat somebody who may be politically, acceptable or politically correct, but in the long run, professionally, may disappoint the nation.
Well, I'm grateful that you joined us. That is Colonel Festus Abuaji. He's a security analyst himself and a former colonel of the Ghana Armed Forces. And you heard both gentlemen mention that today's decision by the president has happened in the context of a suit, a contempt of court suit that was supposed to be heard today, in which Asante Apetu, as the IGP, and the Director General of the CID were both subjects and were facing possible imprisonment because that's what the plaintiffs in the matter. And this is on the issue of Gregory Afoko and his continued detention, in spite of the fact that the court had given a clear order for him to be granted bail. And this decision by the president sort of coincided with that court decision today. My colleague Akablay was in court for us. Akablay, did this come to the attention of the court at all?
No, in fact, we were actually in court when I saw that statement and on various platforms and also on social media. But the issue is that today's proceedings was actually held in camera, just like the previous one. And the IGP was not present, or the former IGP, like we know now, was not present. At that time,
we didn't know whether he was former or he was current.
Yes, but he was not present in court. Same with the Director General of the Police CID, COP Mamiti Wadodankwa, who is also named in this particular case. The case has been filed in court is Republic versus David Asante Apetu, Mamiti Wadodankwa, and the third person, Chief Inspector in Nkrumah, who we are told is a police investigator who is handling the Gregory Afoko case. At the previous court hearing, the last one which was held publicly, the judge had indicated that the case could not proceed without those two individuals being present because the contempt relates to them, and so they have to be present before she delivers her ruling. And that did not happen today. So for the third time,
Asante Apetu didn't show up. Mametiwa did not show up.
Yes.
Okay, and so the case was adjourned again.
Was adjourned to October 10.
But that's a key question that we need to ask them. Now that Asante Apetu is no more the IGP, what happens? Let's bring in the legal. Let's bring in the private legal practitioner, Justice Srem Sai, on this very interesting legal question. Mrs. Sai, thank you for your time here on Top Story.
Thank you very much, Evans, and good evening to your listeners.
So that last question, the IGP is no more the IGP. He's been asked to proceed on leave with immediate effect. The contempt case against him, what happens to it?
As a matter of fact, I am particularly, worried for the former IGP. Contempt matters, as you probably know already, are personal. Because the order made is made to a person who at the time held a particular office and was supposed to use his office to do what the court has ordered. Now, if he's no more in the office, it doesn't take away the fact that he was in the office and did not do what the court, asked him to do. And as your reporter just said, the claim is actually against the person, so they didn't cite the office of the IGP in the summons. It was the names of the individual. So the resignation notwithstanding, he still has to explain to the court why at the time he was in the office he didn't obey the court order, and it does not in any way transfer the claim to the current acting IGP.
So you're saying, if I get you correctly, that the fact that he's gone as the IGP doesn't mean that he's free of the contempt charges against him? At
all, because the time he allegedly disobeyed the court order without justifiable reason, which is the essence of the contempt, he was in the office and the case was against him. The order was directed. One thing about court orders that they are supposed to be against the person. And when it's contempt, it's not against the office. It's against the individual who occupies the office. So he has a question to answer. My worry then is, for some time now, he had a clout, which usually made the court not take certain actions against him, particularly maybe just ordering his arrest. Now that he's no more in that office, he's more, let me say, vulnerable to some of these orders.
But if you stress the argument, some may argue that that action he took in the capacity as the IGP. He is a private citizen now, and so why are you going to punish him for an action he took acting as an IGP?
The principle is no one has official authority, to disobey any court order. The law does not empower anyone in any office to disobey a court order. So
when you do things that violate the court order, you are actually doing it outside of your office, outside of your official. The law does not protect you when you disobey a court order. So what we say is that you actually acted outside your power. So the power will not protect you when the time comes for you to explain or to answer to the court why you did not carry out the order.
Just for the avoidance of doubt, does the president have the legal authority to do what he's done? Yet I extended his contract. I decided that I can't wait for him to fully execute that contract. I asked him to proceed on leave. Is there any legal issue there, or the president can do what he's done?
Recently I think that the Supreme Court made a very important decision on how public officials are supposed to be engaged and dismissed. IGP falls under the kind of persons whose disengagement procedures or terms depends on the letters of the appointment. So we don't know what the appointment is, but be that as it may, it's a question of whether it's a question of remedies in terms of damages and these things. Usually, I don't know the details of the IGP's terms of contract engagement after his retirement 2 years ago. But what I know is that if anything at all, it will be a question of remedies in terms of damages or other whatnot with the salaries and the conditions of service. But as to whether the president has the power to end his contract, that is clearly within the president's purview.
I'm grateful that you joined us. That's private legal practitioner Justice Stremsai. Newsnight starts right now.